Are happening at Northern Light Health. The Rue Institute's Future of Healthcare Founders residency will bring new technological solutions to health challenges many have faced for years. Northern Light Health is the primary healthcare sponsor for the residency, which will be the first of its kind in northern New England. 9 of the companies were represented at a launch session today with Northern Light Health clinicians and administrators. This gave them the chance to share their ideas of digital health, healthcare technology, biotech, and clinical innovation in this residency.
Going to be able to partner with clinicians within the system to help bring my product concept to life. To watch that really come to life, it's very exciting to have this opportunity to really make that leap of acceleration of not just an idea that I'm talking about for another 5 years.
These are really smart people who came up with a great idea that I think could really transform the way we see things here in Maine and maybe even around the world. So this is just one more collaboration that's really going to help the people of Maine.
The program is bringing 30 early-stage health tech companies to Maine over the next 3 years for the residency.